I think anything that brings in the wider community into the university or the school or whatever body is holding it is a good thing, because it's about PR, it's about showing off. We've got a nice, fantastic venue, those sorts of things. I think it's just building more community. So I think it's important that universities and arts bodies and schools and do that sort of thing to get out of the community. Otherwise, you can be very insular and close and be your own thing and not have any relevance for the wider community. So I think it builds relevance and community.
And all of this couldn't be possible without the great support we have from the Melbourne Conservatorium of Music, so we're truly thankful to them.
Yeah, I'm a big fan now.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it so much, it's brilliant.
Thank you. Do you want me to sign them?
Yes, please.
I see there's a pen there.
I'm considering pursuing music as a career, and I do believe that the Melbourne Conservatorium of Music is a very unique spot to study, and I definitely will be seriously considering it as a future opportunity. Definitely a privilege that I couldn't have done without Michael, my teacher, and I'm really grateful for the honour to perform in front of such a well-renowned guitarist like Stephanie Jones. It really inspires me to keep pushing with guitar and follow that as a career.
To be able to bring so many great players together here in the one place for the students at this conservatorium, in this case in Melbourne, to hear them firsthand is clearly going to have a big impact and make an impression that will last through their studies. This year in particular, we've got a lot of young Australian players, some of whom have been overseas and coming back and presenting concerts right throughout the festival, and that's a particularly strong example to the young players of what's possible on the instrument and the kind of level they can reach and the kind of career that they can open up for themselves with dedication.
Well, the Melbourne Guitar Society and this festival make us aware that Australia exists on the guitar side. There are students coming over to Europe, a lot of students, and they are of course really good, but it's important to have these kind of festivals to get known around the world, I think.
Yeah, we hear a lot of those great Australian players in Europe, many of them young, Stephanie Jones and a lot of other players, but now I can see why they're so good, because they come from this environment. And
I would absolutely say that it's forming a hub, and you need only to have come back in consecutive years to see how effective it is at building an audience and building a community. That this festival now is bigger than it was last year and significantly bigger than it was the year before, and to see the competition that supports the younger players or players of any ability, not just the kind of top tier of performers. And you look at the numbers in those younger performers, and it's just growing. And they get to see the full spectrum. They get to see older kids playing, something to aspire to, and then they get to see professional guitarists playing, something to aspire to deep into the future.
And to be able to play in Melba Hall, I think, is a really valuable experience for them. Under quite a substantial public, I must say. You've got parents who are hanging around and watching the whole thing, and it's a really nice supportive vibe the way it's run. And you get that feedback from the judges, and you just get that experience under that pressured environment. And I think it's those kinds of experiences as you're growing up that can really help develop as a concert player.
Yeah, I'm super happy about the first prize, obviously. I mean, it was difficult like all the times, and I'm happy that this time I gained to have the first prize, so very happy to come back in Australia next year also. All the people know that there is 2 festivals in Australia, Adelaide Guitar Festival and Melbourne Guitar Festival. So I think, I'm sure that Melbourne Guitar Festival is one of the most famous festivals of Australia.
Another thing that bucks the norm in terms of guitar festivals around the world, and I've been to all of them, is that it runs on time. No guitar festival ever runs on time, but this one's like clockwork, and it's valuable for the performers, and it's valuable for the competitors, it's valuable for the audience members to know that they can turn up and that it's well organized. It's spectacular. And so for me, having the opportunity to now tour all over Australia, to places in Australia that I've never been, and to be able to take my program to them, it's just spectacular. I'm really looking forward to it. This is only the second show. I've got 8 more, I think, to go, and I just can't wait.
Well, it's my first time at the Melbourne Guitar Festival. I've heard about it before, obviously, but each festival is different, and Melbourne has its own vibe, and I'm really enjoying it.
The teaching also is clearly something that makes an impact and lasts well into the future. The students get new ideas and ways of looking at the different styles that they're playing and interpreting, and technical advice, and they get to see other people being taught.
Can you keep the gentle feel that you had before?
Oh yeah, and there's a beauty of a note. Dom da dee da da da. It's the first time that. Good. From here.
I liked it a lot because the students are very attentive, and they really want to progress, and they are open-minded and welcoming new ideas that comes, and I think they are really working hard to become better musicians.
You have a very clear idea exactly what you want to do. Maybe you want to create a sort of a storyline to it, or something like a sort of structure that you can think about. So when
And it was good because we had really enough time with each student. Sometimes it's just in, out, and you have to do like 12 lessons in a very short time, and you don't have time to really go into details and to work with the music and to give suggestions that matter in the long run. And we had the time to do that, to really focus now. So I love that.
We've had a lot of new Australian music. It was wonderful to hear Dan McKay today present a whole program of new Australian guitar music, and he did it superbly and in a way that really drew the audience in. A lot of humour, very natural presentation and beautiful playing.
The next 4 pieces I'm playing are all written by current composition students here at the Conservatorium, which I think you'll agree will go to show the quality of the composition department and also the excellent judgment in the staff encouraging their students to write for the guitar. I haven't met Furnace, and I hope she's somewhere here in the audience, but g'day, how you going? I'm Dan. Yeah. Nice to meet you.
I really enjoyed seeing so many local composers in Dan's program just today, actually.
This is by another composer I don't know, James Mountain, who I hope is also here. Don't know. There we go. Yeah, hi. My name's Dan. It's nice to meet your acquaintance. This piece is inspired by the natural world and in particular a painting. And so what James, I believe, was trying to do with this piece was to kind of imagine what's between the trees, what is not in the painting. And so you can sort of, try to imagine a painting you've never seen and the bits that you can't see in that painting when I play this piece of music. And so even though this piece is called Between the Tall Trees, it's no picnic. I'm working on that one.
Best thing that I saw and the best experience that I had at this festival was seeing Dan McKay play an all-Australian, all-new composition concert, and that it was the most satisfying thing I've ever been to.
For us coming here, listening to Australian music that we have never heard before, we don't get that as much in Europe. So for that reason too, from a composition point of view, it's really important that that this festival exists.
This year I was awarded the music management internship with the MCM Ignite Lab, where I do 40 hours of placement within an arts organisation in Melbourne. I chose the Melbourne Guitar Foundation to do my placement. It's been a really good internship because I've had a really broad range of tasks. My main task has been organising a live stream and learning how to use all the technology involved with that, which is something that is transferable to my own career if I decide to live stream one of my concerts.
Well, I heard a lot of good thing about MCM, like in terms of facility. There's like new hall coming up, Ian Porter commissioned hall around South Bank. Also, the staff members, I think they're all amazing. I'm learning from Dan, who's also teaching in the Melbourne Uni at the moment. I don't see any reason why not to be in Melbourne Uni, I think.
So being in Mildura, it's a little bit isolating to have two other guitarists in the town. So to come to Melbourne and attend the festival and meet so many guitarists and meet some MCM faculty and talk to people about the MCM, that was definitely a fact.
I knew about Dr. Ken Murray before I come to the festival, but I get to meet him in person, like talking to him and knowing extra knowledge about university and stuff here.
The sense of community that's here, and having been here now for the last few years, it seems like it seems to be forming a bit of a focal point for Australian guitar, and it's so wonderful to have that here in Melbourne.
It's incredible that we meet all Australian guitarists from all the cities. So I see people from Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, and Perth, and from everywhere. So I think it's very important.
Meeting people not only from Melbourne but from other states as well. I was quite impressed there. I think, oh, and who's that? And who's that? And who's that? Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
You know, so for a time you think, oh, I wonder where I am, because of all these people that you know from other places. So,
Yeah.
but I think that's the advantage of festivals as such, compared to one-off concerts. I mean, live music is great, and concerts are one thing. But when you get a festival together, you bring a whole lot of people who are interested in your thing. So you know, it's always a great vibe.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think what really struck me here is the great vibe, the great atmosphere, because it's great programming, competition's great, good teaching, but if you don't have that atmosphere and that vibe, it's not worth anything. So I really like that you mingle with students, with other artists, and there are no barriers. As Swedes, we are very egalitarian, so we feel very at home in this informal environment, I would say.
There's the interaction between all their peers here. It's really quite endless, and throw into the mix as well all the guitar makers who come and show their wares and talk with the students, and the interaction generally across the whole spectrum of players and people who come. We never, at the ANU and all the years I was there, were able to organise our own guitar festival in-house. So to have it in-house is particularly special. My students through that time travelled to guitar festivals, organised elsewhere, which I always saw really influenced them very strongly. It can't be overstated, in fact, and to have it in-house, I think, really heightens the impact tremendously.